What is going on, guys? Z85 Jew. We are back here with another video. I have the 2JZ right here to my right, and to my left I have something that I have been waiting for forever, and I am just so excited to show you guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dig in. Let's open this box and let's get started. So as you guys can see, looks like my clutch setup has finally come. This is all from the company called Mazworx. It is the same people who actually made my bell housing here, the ones that we actually installed on my trans. I bought that from them, and I also bought this in a kit as a whole, but everything was kind of on back order at the time as far as the clutch goes, so they had to reach out to the competition clutch and just get stuff expedited for me. Finally we have it here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start opening all these boxes up and show you what we have, because I am so excited. This is the last piece that I needed to get this thing in the car. If you guys are excited for this video, please drop a like for me. Can see we have our new pressure plate right here. Everything is by Competition Clutch. Then we have a new flywheel as well with our new clutch. So this is going to be a 6-puck clutch. I believe it's rated for about 550 to 600 foot-pounds of torque, which again should be plenty for a stock bottom end JZ. I'm sure I could make a lot more if I wanted to, but how long would the engine truly last? This is going to be plenty. And then we also have our alignment tool and our new throwout bearing here. So only thing I am waiting on, I did order a new clutch fork, and I have the slave cylinder. I did get that installed yesterday. I didn't really show you guys just because I didn't really think it'd be something super interesting, but went ahead and put that down there. So that is fully installed. I'm just waiting on the actual clutch fork. So once that comes in, we technically can go ahead and throw everything in, but my goal today, I'm actually just gonna go ahead and get the new clutch on the JZ, and then once it's on the JZ, we can just kind of get it set up and just ready to get thrown back in until everything else comes. One other new part came in today too. I want to show you guys. You guys are probably like, dude, I thought you were done buying parts. I thought I was too. Apparently not. So you guys know right now, I currently have this throttle body. This is a 90mm throttle body. This is a very large throttle body. In order to run this throttle body, you need to run a cable from here all the way with the bracket here to the car. 370Zs, 350Zs, they don't utilize a cable. They actually have a drive-by-wire setup. And what that is basically on the throttle bodies for the VQ, because you know there's two, it's basically a sensor that talks to the car that lets it know when to open the throttle. You know, the ECU is communicating through that sensor. So with having this type of setup, this is gonna be pretty difficult just because we don't have an actual cable from our gas pedal. So in order to convert this back over to drive-by-wire, I went ahead and went online and found these people on here who actually make a drive-by-wire setup for the 2JZ. Their website is called www.outsidersgarage.com. I believe they're based on the East Coast, don't quote me on that. But what this is a GM style throttle body, and it's gonna basically convert our throttle body to drive-by-wire. A lot of people don't really like drive-by-wire throttle bodies for a lot of reasons. I'm not really sure why, because they are very responsive when you have a really good ECU. In our case, this is really just gonna help us out a lot. So let me get this open out of the bag and then I'll show you what we have. All right, so now that I have this out the bag, I'm not struggling anymore. It came with 3 components, or I should say you can buy it in a lot of different variations. If you already have the drive-by-wire throttle body, the only thing that you need is the adapter. First thing I'll talk about is the adapter. So this is the adapter plate. I'll go ahead and take off my throttle body over there and I'll show you a little bit more, but essentially once we get that throttle body off, this is going to bolt onto my intake manifold as of now. On this side, this is what this throttle body is going to bolt onto, kind of sitting something along the lines of that. This will basically allow us to convert it to this throttle body. You can buy it in a lot of different size variations. I believe the size I went with it was either a 72 or a 75. Whatever it was basically the one that was closest to 3 inches, just because again I am running these type of couplers and I want to be able to weld this coupler onto the throttle body, which it looks like it's gonna match up very nice. So these are the HD clamps, very expensive by the way. So that's gonna be this portion of it, and I'll show you again later on the install. The next thing I'll talk about is the throttle body itself. So I didn't have a drive-by-wire throttle body that I could use, so I went ahead and bought one from them. So this is brand new. It's, again, like I said, a GM style throttle body. So you could actually look up one of these part numbers. It's actually a Bosch throttle body, and this is the actual one that GM uses. So it's kind of crazy that like you can use so many different type of like variations of parts and just get it to work on one engine. I'm sure there's so many different type of stuff. I have a GM throttle body now. I have LQ9 coil packs. Like there's just so many different type of stuff for this swap that's working. But hey, if it works, it works. The other thing that you can buy as an option from them is, I believe it's called an unterminated harness. Correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially what that is, they go ahead and wire up a harness for you, so that way it will go ahead and plug in your new throttle body and you can go ahead and wire it into your setup. So as far as like your wiring harness, whatever the case is. So I went ahead and chose that route. I'm not too bad with wiring, but with all this stuff going on, I have so much stuff that I still need to go ahead and get finalized on this car, and I just wanted to make my life a bit easier by go ahead and choosing this route. So this is what I chose to do. So I went ahead and got their little plug and play harness, so this will go ahead and plug right in. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take off that throttle body, and then I'll show you how this one is going to mount. So first things first, we need to go ahead and take off this throttle body here. So again, no longer going to be using this. Let's go ahead and get this off. All right, now that we got that off, let's go ahead and unplug the TPS, throttle position sensor. There we go. So again, no longer going to be using this. This is a huge throttle body, guys. I don't think you guys understand how big this thing is. 90 millimeters is huge. So cool thing about their kit, it actually gives you brand new hardware. So I'm just go ahead and taking it out right now as we speak. This is going to be our new throttle body adapter here. I don't know how well you guys can see that, how much just fell. But this is going to be the back portion of it, and then this is where our actual new throttle body is going to sit. I don't think this thing has a certain orientation of how it sits. I think either way you bolt it on. Oh, actually, I guess I'm wrong. So we'll figure that out, but I think it's just going to go something like that. And then yeah, we'll go from there. So once I get it kind of where I want it to and where I want the throttle body to sit, I'll show you how it'll look. I figured out my orientation, so how I'm going to have the throttle body to sit is going to be like this with the logo straight up. You don't need to worry about having a gasket on the back of here at all, because at least for this throttle body, I have a O-ring that sits in here. So as long as that O-ring is there, you don't need to have a gasket on the back. You want to go ahead and get your new hardware that they provide with the crush washer, and basically just go ahead and install it like normal. Should be fairly easy. So let's go ahead and screw one in right now. We have a throttle body adapter plate on, and it looks amazing. This thing looks absolutely killer. I love this piece. Very, very nice piece. So next thing we want to do, we want to go ahead and figure out where you want your orientation of the new throttle body. And the reason why I say figure out, because there's no really right or wrong way to mount this. It's just where you want this big sensor to look and go. So you know, you could mount it like this if you wanted to. You could mount it like that. I think in our case, I was thinking something along lines of this, to where like the sensor's kind of out of the way, you don't really see it as much. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, because any other way I put it, I just can't really see. This is gonna interfere with like the belt and everything. So don't want it over there. Definitely don't want it like that. So I think the best way for me is gonna be something along the lines of this, or either that. So I think I'm probably just gonna go ahead and do that. I have the orientation of kind of how I want it, where I want it. I just need to tighten these down. But if anybody knows, the throttle body isn't straight up and down. And let me see if I can show you guys what exactly I mean by that. So as you guys can see in here, the throttle body is not directly straight up and down. I don't know if that's an issue. I just know it needs to be able to be open once it is plugged in. So I don't think it should be, because I mean, air is going to be going in there either way. I don't think there needs to be a certain way, but if anybody has any actual knowledge on that, please let me know, just because I want to make sure I do it the right way. But for right now, this is how I'm going to leave it, because this is where I like, you know, this mechanism. I don't want to really have it on the top, just because it will look ugly, and I can't have it any other way but right here. If anybody has any good information, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks. Just to give you guys a little bit of a comparison, here is the old throttle body on the left that is obviously not mounted, and then here's the one on the right. You can see how much larger this 90 millimeter throttle body is compared to, like I said, the 72 or 75. I can't remember whichever one is closer to 3 inches. But yeah, very, very large difference. And then also I have my HD clamp here. You guys know that this is what I'm going to be running, and this will actually end up getting welded directly onto here, and then the other end will get welded onto the intercooler piping, so that way we don't have any boost leaks. But with this setup, I was not able to run anything like that just because it won't fit. So it literally sits in there way too far. So it's the silver piece that you want to actually weld. So this will be perfect, and I'm super, super stoked for that. But on the other hand, if anybody does need this throttle body for anything, definitely let me know, comment on this video or even DM me on my Instagram, and I will definitely reach out to you and go ahead and get this sold to you. I'm not really asking for much, just obviously just because I can't use it, but it is still a nice piece if you wanted a bigger throttle body. So before we get started, I wanted to go ahead and lay everything out for the clutch kit that we have. So we have our actual clutch here, we have the flywheel there, and we also have the pressure plate. We also have the new hydraulic bearing and the clutch alignment tool in here. And then right here below, we have the new ARP hardware for the flywheel. We have the new clutch bolts. And then this is actually our pilot bearing. I've never seen a pilot bearing like this. Apparently this is like some 2JZ-ish. Or it could just because, everything is like a swap or whatever. But yeah, I've never seen a pilot bearing. They've always been like completely metal to me. So the fact that this thing is like kind of rubber and like metal inside, it's kind of weird. But nonetheless, that is everything. So now that we have everything laid out, what I'm going to do first, as anybody should, is clean the surface, clean as much as you can around. So if there is oil or anything like that, you want to get that out of there. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and tap your pilot bearing all the way in. You want to press it, not all the way in, but just seat it around the lip of in here. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now. By the looks of this pilot bearing, it has a little lip on the left side. I don't know if you guys can, or how well you can see that, but it has a lip on this side over here. This side is flat, that side has that little lip. So the way you want to orientate putting it in the JZ, you want this lip to be facing the front of the engine. So this is the way that we're going to install it. You don't want to install it this way. You want to make sure you go ahead and install it that way. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do right now. Again, like I mentioned, it has this lip right here. The other side does not have that. So we are going to orientate it in this orientation right here, and then you want to find a socket that is the same exact size all the way around, because you don't want it too small, you don't want it too big, just kind of all the way around. So this is like the perfect fit. You'll go ahead and put this on as straight as you can, and once you got it straight on, go ahead and put your socket right there. And then you're supposed to maybe use like a rubber mallet or something like that. I don't have one as of right now, so I'm gonna tap this very, very lightly, as light as I can, just to get this thing seated flush all the way around here. So I'll show you that when I'm done. All right, so I got the adapter pilot bearing in. Since this is an adapter, it's not supposed to be fully seated, at least from what I'm seeing on the internet. There's like no stuff on the internet about installing this, so I'm really the only person probably doing this ever, and that's probably for a reason. But so I got it in. It's it's just seated as far as it'll go, because when you hit it, you'll kind of hear a big clunking sound, and it's actually not moving anymore. So it's fully seated. So now let me go ahead and put the flywheel on, and then once you actually have the flywheel on, you can see that it's flush with the flywheel. So that's what makes me think that this is correct. You see how it's like flush all the way down. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this installed and get the clutch on. You guys have seen enough clutch videos and stuff like that. Use Loctite, don't be stupid. And yeah, I'll show you the ending product. So as you guys can see, we have our new clutch and flywheel on. Everything is fully bolted down and torqued down how it's supposed to. It's kind of weird looking at the back of this thing now, because I was so used to looking at all the rust that was behind this engine. It actually looks really, really good. Something else did come and I want to show you guys. So you guys know I need to run coolant lines and oil lines for this turbo now. So I went ahead and fully mounted my oil feed line. I like how this is routed. This line is actually really short. I'd rather route it on the other side, but since the line is so short, I had to route it like this. And actually, looking at it, it doesn't look too bad, and it keeps it away from all the hot parts, which is really nice. So I just need to go ahead and hook up my water lines, this one and this one on the side. That setup will be complete, and then as well as the drain. I have the drain line, but I actually need to make it since it didn't come pre-made. So I need to go ahead and make that. I've never actually really made a line before, so that's gonna be an interesting project. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we finally have our clutch set up completely done. We have the slave on, which is over here. We have the hydraulic bearing, we have the actual fork, the pivot ball is on there as well. So this part is done, as well as our clutch. So now we can go ahead and take that out and mate that to the engine and finally get this thing in the car for the last time. Dude, I am so pumped right now. You guys have no idea. Also, on another note, this is my radiator setup. This fan shroud is actually not for this radiator. This is a Koyo Rad radiator, and this is a Mishimoto fan shroud, so it's not exactly entirely the same. As you guys can see at the top, you know, it's just not mating up completely. So I did have to modify it a bit. I'll show you right here under the water, the neck here. I had to like cut out a little piece just so that would fit correctly, and as well as below here, and one more time here for the drain. So I did have to like chop those parts off. So the radiator is not technically fully sealed, but it's fine, you know what I mean? Like this little bit of area, surface area, is not anything to worry about. And I've actually seen that on other swaps, so it looks like it's a pretty common issue, because surprisingly enough, Koyo Rad doesn't make their own radiator shrouds, at least from what I could find. So if you guys know anything that I don't, leave a comment below, because I'm super curious. But this is the only option that I had, so I'm pretty satisfied with that. It's super sleek, and it's super tight as well. It's very close to the radiator, which was my main goal, just because I don't know how much room I'm gonna have with this engine up front here.